Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Bava Metzia. We are up to Perek Zayin Mishnah Bet. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'elu Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Ranbai Veliyahu ben Burcha Israelov Chana bat Miriam Sason ben Ryan Yoshua ben Shifra Menuchatam Began Eden Amen and Avdi ben Chaim Lechaim v'derefua Shelemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa Betor Shachol Israel and the Chlama Merav Binyamin Otzion Chai ben Dvorah. Having discussed when workers are entitled to receive food from their employers based on local custom or through agreement with their employer, the Mishnah discusses a Torah law that allows a worker to eat from his employer's food regardless of local custom. The Torah states in the book of Dvarim, chapter 23, verses 25 to 26, that when a laborer is hired to work with produce, he is entitled to eat from that produce as he works without the employer's permission under certain conditions. The next 7 Mishnayot discuss details of this law. These workers are entitled by Torah law to eat from the food they are working with. One who works on produce that is attached to the ground may eat from it. Bishad Gemar Melacha, when its work is complete, meaning if it is fully ripe and he is harvesting it. Uvtalush min hakarka. In contrast, someone who works with produce that has already been detached from the ground may eat from it only ad shelo nigmara melachto, when its work is not yet complete, meaning if it is not yet processed to the point when tiruma and maaser must be separated. Produce that grows in Eretz Israel may not be eaten until several portions known as tiruma and maaser are removed from it. Tiruma and maaser do not have to be separated until the produce is considered fully processed. Different types of produce reach this point at different times. For example, vegetables that are sold in bundles are not considered fully processed until they are bundled. Only one who works with such vegetables before they are bundled is entitled to eat from them. When a person prepares dough from certain species of grain, after separating tiruma and maaser, he must separate another portion on as challah. When a laborer works with grain that will be made into dough, it is not considered fully processed until it becomes obligated for challah to be taken, which is at a later point. Then when it becomes obligated to man maaser, and he may eat from it until that point. And this privilege applies only to a person who works with things that grow from the ground. These laws are derived from verses in the Torah. The Mishnah states which workers do not have this privilege, and these workers may not eat from the food they are working with. Someone who works with produce that is attached to the ground may not eat from it when its work is not yet complete, meaning if he is doing any job before the harvest. And someone who works with produce that was detached from the ground may not eat from it after its work is complete, meaning if it is already processed to the point where tiruma and maaser must be separated, or if it is produce that will be subject to removal of challah, when it is processed to the point that challah must be separated. In addition, anyone who works with food that does not grow from the ground may not eat from that food no matter what kind of work he is doing. For example, a worker hired to milk cows or make cheese may not drink from the milk or eat from the cheese. And that is in a Mishnah Bet. Mishnah Gimel states what type of work entitles a worker to eat from the produce he is working with. If a worker was working with his hands but not with his feet, for example, he was harvesting produce by hand, or if he was working with his feet but not with his hands, for example, he was pressing grapes with his feet. In earlier times, grapes were pressed for juice by stomping on them. Or even if he was working only with his shoulders, for example, he was hired to support a load with his shoulder. This worker may eat from the produce he is working with. The Torah gave a worker this privilege no matter what type of work he is doing, again subject to the guidelines discussed in Mishnah 2. Since the Torah did not state what type of work entitles a worker to eat from the produce he is working with, he has this privilege no matter how he is working. Another Tana disagrees. Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Yehuda, says, a worker may eat from the produce he works with only if he is working with both his hands and his feet. Otherwise, he does not have this privilege. Just as the Torah gave a worker the privilege of eating from produce with which he is working, the Torah teaches that a person must allow his ox or other animal to eat from produce with which it is working. This is a verse in Dvarim, chapter 25, verse 4. The Gemara teaches in Bava Metzia, page 89a, that with regard to certain matters, a worker's privilege to eat produce is compared to that of an ox. Rabbi Yossi derives from this comparison that a worker may eat as he works only when he works as an ox works, with both his hands and feet, just as an ox works with both its hands, meaning its forelegs, and feet, its hind legs. And the Rav tells us, the halakha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Yehuda. That is the Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.